What's up? My name's Amanda. I'm at the Penguins versus Rangers game, and you're watching Post to Post. Let's go, Pens!
Hello and welcome to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. And I haven't really been feeling great the past couple days. I don't know if you noticed in the last video, my energy was pretty low. It's kind of low today. I thought we'd just kind of have more of a relaxed conversation, just chat about all the teams in the league a little bit. I have a jersey to unbox and just going to touch on a few other things. So I just want to kind of not take this too seriously, just kind of relax a little bit. So just touching on yesterday's video where I talked about Anderson. There's a couple people who had some interesting responses to what I said at the beginning when I said that Anderson is the new Price. That was mainly a joke, and what I actually meant by that is that if you look a couple years ago, Price basically took that team to 15 points above where they probably should have been, maybe even more. Anderson has done that this year, but maybe not to that extent, obviously. Between 7 and 15 points. If Toronto got average goaltending this year, maybe if it was, I don't know, Brian Elliott or Robin Lehner or someone, like if they just had average goaltending, they would be 7 to 15 points below where they are. So that's literally all I meant by that, is that Anderson's kind of taking a team and bringing it up 7 to 15 points higher than what they should be, kind of like how Price did a couple of years ago. That's literally all I meant. If you read more into that, then I'm sorry, but that's literally all I meant by that. Have a jersey to unpackage here. And I'm going to go through each team and kind of talk about my thoughts on the team. Some of it's playoff related, some of it's team related, some of it's offseason related. But I'm going to do that while I open this. So the team that we're going to start off with is Anaheim. Anaheim's in a very interesting position because it's a team kind of like Pittsburgh where they start slow in the season and they always finish strong. And they are only a couple of points out of a playoff spot right now. And I predicted Anaheim to go to the conference finals last year. And they did. It's a team that has so much depth. They're built to be a playoff team. So if they get in the playoffs, look out. That's why I've said this past couple of weeks. If you're a team that's going to probably end up playing Anaheim in the Pacific, you should be worried for sure. I really like the direction of Anaheim. They have a few changes to make, but I like where they're going. Arizona is actually playing quite well recently. They are, I think, like 5-4-1 in their last 10. They've won 3 straight as I'm making this video. Pretty great, actually. They had a strong game against Montreal last night, but it doesn't take much to beat Montreal these days, so good on them. Boston is really, really, really flying under the radar, and I know that's kind of weird to say because they're in second in the league or third. That's yesterday's standing, so that's not updated, but they're close. And they're a team that I would be scared to play in the playoffs because they just have everything locked down right now. So it's Boston fans, you have to be happy with this season. Buffalo is a team that has injury issues at the moment. Jack Eichel, when he's healthy, still doesn't have the support that he needs on the team. I feel bad for Buffalo fans. They're obviously not going to make the playoffs this year. Hopefully they'll pick up a good pick in the draft, maybe Dahlin or Dahlin or whatever you want to say it. Kachuk, Zadina, someone to help them. Zadina would be a nice secondary player to Eichel, so that'd be interesting. Carolina is currently in a playoff spot. They are in the last playoff spot. It's kind of weird to say because we have the Islanders and Rangers just sitting outside, and the Carolina Hurricanes are quietly in a playoff position. It's a lot of that's due to Cam Ward, actually, and nothing to do with Scott Darling because he has not had the strongest year. I think Cam Ward is one of the reasons they are where they are. I love seeing them where they are because they're one of my favorite teams. Man, there's a lot of extra strings in this jersey. And I think Carolina fans should be happy about where they are, but I wouldn't get too excited because they're not going to win the Stanley Cup this year. That's my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right. It's just my opinion. I don't think they have the team that it takes to win a Stanley Cup. but who knows? Calgary. Calgary is in a very stressful position in the league because they are in third place in the Pacific as I'm making this video, but they have LA, they have Anaheim, and they have a couple of other teams kind of on their tail. It's going to be tough. I actually don't know if Calgary's going to make the playoffs. If they do, I think it'll be in a wild card spot. I think Anaheim's going to sneak up into that second or third position in the Pacific. But I think Calgary, if they make it in the playoffs, I think they'll surprise some people. As long as they don't, as long as they don't play Anaheim and have to play in California, they could sneak a round or two out. Chicago. People have asked me to make a video about Chicago in past couple of weeks and give my opinion on what is wrong with the Chicago Blackhawks. And I've always answered in the comments that my opinion of the Chicago Blackhawks is the same as it was basically in the offseason after the playoffs. I really feel like they need to revamp their coaching staff a little bit. I'd really like to see Joe Quenneville fired, and that's kind of a strange thing to say because he's one of the most successful coaches in the past 10 years. But I just think it's time. I think it's time that the franchise sees a new face, and that's really all there is to it. I don't think there's too much to read into that. I think that maybe the players just aren't responding to him as much as they used to, and maybe it's time. Columbus. Bobrovsky is king, not King Hendrik, King Bob. He is the sole reason why Columbus is where they are. Still not convinced that they'll make the playoffs. They have a lot of work to do. They need to improve on their special teams. And if they do make the playoffs, let's hope they don't play Pittsburgh. Colorado. They are playing okay recently. I think they're 5-4-1 or 4-5-1, something like that. I think that I think they have what it takes to get in the playoffs. I don't think they have what it takes to win a cup. Not Vasilevsky. Varlamov has played pretty well in recent games. So if he stays healthy, I think that's great news for the team. But I don't see them going very far in the playoffs. Dallas is a sneaky team because they are underlooked a little bit. Not a lot of people see Dallas as a threat, I don't think. But they're very close to actually moving into a second or third spot in the Central, which is kind of weird because St. Louis was kind of such a powerhouse at the beginning of the season. They've kind of fallen off. Dallas is only a few points behind, so it'll be interesting. Detroit is the cap. The cap problems in Detroit are a problem. I feel bad for fans of Detroit because they have to not only deal with that situation this year, but they have to deal with it for like probably the next 4 years. It's not good. They have a lot of things to take care of cap-wise, but you know what? They're still remaining to be fairly competitive. They're not in a playoff spot, obviously, but they're there. I mean, if they won 5 of their games instead of lost 5 of their games, they'd be in the playoffs right now. That's kind of crazy, but they're a bubble team, if you want to call them that. They have some work to do. It's gonna be stressful for Wings fans over the next couple of years, I think. The Edmonton Oilers, what a disappointing season. They have struggled immensely. McDavid isn't getting much secondary support from the rest of his team. Scoring outside of that, his line is basically non-existent. They have too many slow players that can't keep up. Special teams, especially at home, is just atrocious. Just god-awful. Our penalty kill at home is abysmal. I think next year will be better for sure, but yeah, they've got some work to do. Florida's an interesting team because they have quietly snuck back up the standings a little bit and are just a couple of points out of the playoff spot, actually. And the thing about Florida is they have games in hand on everyone around them. So if you look at Florida, they have, I believe, 54 games played. And Carolina, who has the last wild card spot, has 4 more games played than they do. So if Florida won those 4 games in hand, with those 8 points, they would actually be in the last wildcard spot. They'd have 2 more points than Carolina right now. So not a lot of people are paying attention to Florida, but they're quietly getting some stuff done in the East. And it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with those games in hand. LA, I watched the LA game last night. By the way, I have all the strings off this now, so I can actually probably show you this. This is the Stadium Series jersey from Minnesota. Love this jersey, absolutely love it. I have a white one back there. Wanted to get a dark one. This is one of my favorites outside of the current one. This is just a tremendous jersey, so very happy to have it. So LA, I watched last night. Jonathan Quick was unbelievable last night. He made some like 4 or 5 highlight reel saves within the first half of the game. It was pretty remarkable. And Phaneuf got his first goal as a King last night, and it's a team that could potentially do something in the playoffs, but I just don't feel like the consistency is there on the front end of the team. They really have trouble scoring, so I don't have a lot of hope for LA this year, but it wouldn't necessarily surprise me if they snuck into the playoffs. Minnesota, they are quietly playing very well recently. They are a team that I think if they made it into the playoffs, they'd have a very, very tough first round. They'd end up playing Vegas or Winnipeg or Nashville. Basically, that first round for Minnesota would be so difficult. If they could sneak into like third in the division, which I don't think they can, but if they could, we could see Minnesota in the second round. If they just make it into the playoffs, into a wildcard spot, I don't see them moving outside of that first round. The Montreal Canadiens, they're a team that kind of look like they've given up, to be honest. They're my favorite team. I've watched every single game. Carey Price looks completely emotionally disconnected from the team, and so does everybody else. Blind passes. Pacioretty, like, if you get a chance to watch Montreal, like, don't, because they suck, but if you're looking for something to watch, and Montreal's the only team on that you can watch, I want you to watch them and pay attention to Pacioretty. 2 things. Never hustles back to the bench for a line change. Really, really lazy in that aspect of his game. And number 2, the blind passes. I can't, like, it's mind-boggling that the coaching staff is not having these conversations with players, telling them to not to give blind passes. That's pee-wee stuff. You learn that in pee-wee. You don't give blind passes. Like, unless you have insane chemistry with someone, ain't nobody got time for blind passes. Stop it, Pacioretty. Please. They're gone. Montreal is completely disconnected from the team. Like, there doesn't seem to be any team camaraderie, or like there's just no gelling of any of the players. They're completely all emotionally disconnected. It's really frustrating to watch, but they're just gone. The Devils are a team that has that second wild card spot, but they aren't the same team they were at the beginning of the season. They're the same team, but they're just kind of coming down a little bit. Still a competitive team. Still could probably win a round or 2 in the playoffs if everything goes right. I don't see them winning the Stanley Cup. I don't see them making the conference finals, but I could be wrong. The Nashville Predators are currently my pick to come out of the West. Last season, when I made the predictions before the playoffs, I predicted Nashville to go to the conference finals. Everyone called me crazy. They went to the conference finals. They went further in the conference finals, almost won the Stanley Cup. I feel like the team is basically the same as it was last year. Highly competitive. One of the most dynamic defensive groups in the league. Probably has the best defensive core right now in the league. They received the most offense from their defensemen. We saw that in the playoffs last year. We see it this season. I think you should be scared of Nashville, not only because of what happened last year, but because of the way that they're playing this year. It's a really strong team, and they are my pick coming out of the West, but it's going to be close. It's going to be close. The Islanders are in a very tough spot. Tavares contract negotiation is looming over the franchise. It was last year. It is this year. I think it's affecting the rest of the players in the team because there's other players in the team who are expecting contracts as well, like Bailey and a few others. And they don't really know what their future holds because they have to wait and see what John Tavares does. He's kind of holding up the entire process, and that's not a knock on John Tavares. He's doing exactly what he should be doing. He's not intentionally doing that to hurt anyone else. He's doing exactly what he should be doing. So I think the team this year won't make the playoffs. If they do, I don't think they'll go far, but I don't think they're going to make it. I think that there's too much off-ice stuff with the organization that's just too much of a distraction this year. The arena situation, John Tavares situation, goaltending situation. The Rangers have seemed to give up. I guess I would. Probably the wrong term. Maybe not say give up, but they're not a team that is built to go far in the playoffs. A lot of speed, great goaltending, inconsistent scoring, very streaky. I find. I have a feeling they're going to miss the playoffs. But I'm really impressed that the management and organization is taking an active role in being communicative with the fans and the rest of the NHL world, that they plan on making some moves and building for the future with young talent and drafting and stuff. So I think that's really important. So kudos to them for doing that. The Ottawa Senators have been eliminated from the playoffs, but mathematically they haven't. But realistically, the Ottawa Senators aren't making the playoffs. If they do, it'll be a miracle. They've made some moves this year, big moves. Kyle Turris gone, Dion Phaneuf gone. Rumors of Carlson leaving. You bring Duchesne in. There's just it's been a wild year for Ottawa fans, for that team in general. It's going to be. I think it'll be much better next year. There'll be a lot less drama. If Carlson's still there, there'll be drama, but if he's gone, I think there'll be a lot less drama. I think that'll be actually good for the team, like emotionally. The Philadelphia Flyers are in a third spot in the Metropolitan Division as I'm making this video. They have shocked a lot of people, including myself. I really didn't think Elliott was the kind of goaltender that could put them in this position. And for the first half of the year, he wasn't. And they went on a 10-game losing streak. And they are kind of destined, it seems at the moment, to play Pittsburgh. Because even if Pittsburgh makes it into the first in the Metro, gets it through the first round, Philadelphia would end up playing Washington, it looks like. If they somehow beat Washington, which is possible, they end up playing Pittsburgh. So that's going to be very tough. It's going to be a very tough challenge for Philadelphia to get out of the second round. The Pittsburgh Penguins are next. This is a team that starts slow. They have the ability to be down in a game and come back easily, kind of like Toronto a little bit. It's a team that you should be scared of. It's a team that has the most important thing of any other team, which is experience. It's a team that hasn't changed a lot over the past couple of years. There's been, I know, Bonino is left, Cullen's gone, Fleury's gone. There's been tons of change, but I think the general group is, they really have a lot of chemistry. So I'm not really worried about the lineup changes too much affecting their chances at the Stanley Cup. I'm worried about their weatheredness. Is that a word? Weatheredness? Their tiredness. They've played more hockey than any other team in the last 2 years. So I'm worried that they might get a little tired starting even in as early as round one. Maybe they get by the, I don't want to say maybe. I think they're definitely going to get by the first round. The second round's going to be tough. Depends on who they play. I could see them going back to the Stanley Cup Finals, and I hate to say that, but I really can. There's no denying that Pittsburgh is an incredible team. The San Jose Sharks, my second favorite team. I've used this term a couple times in this video, so I apologize for being repetitive, but San Jose Sharks have quietly gone into a position in the Pacific where they aren't really being talked about a lot. Very good defensive team. They need a few pieces. With Thornton being injured, are they going to bring in Nash? Are they going to bring in Evander Kane? Are they going to bring in some more pieces? I think they have to make moves at the trade deadline, but I still don't see them going to the finals or maybe even the conference finals. Probably I see them like around a second round team. Could be wrong. Hope I am. Like I said, I'd love to see them win the cup. St. Louis Blues. If goaltending was consistent all year around, and if the team was consistent in front of one goalie that they are the other goalie, I think you would see the St. Louis Blues in a totally different position this year. It's a team that never seems to find that success in the playoffs. Incredible regular season teams of the past 10 to 15 years. Unbelievable regular season teams. They hit the playoffs. They just can't seem to get it done. So I'm really hoping that they have some success this year. It'll all depend on Jake Allen. The Tampa Bay Lightning. Here is a team that I think almost everybody picked to come out of the East. Here's a team that probably everyone will still pick to come out of the East, including myself. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning have so many different weapons at every point on the ice. Sergachev and Hedman on the back end, even Strawman. If you look at up front, you've got Kucherov and Stamkos and Point and Johnson, and then the back end you got Vasilevsky. I mean, this is a team that is so incredibly deep and talented at every single position on the ice. It's really scary. So I would not want to face the Tampa Bay Lightning in the playoffs this year. The Toronto Maple Leafs are the hottest team in the league right now, 9-1-0, and they are such a fun team to watch, and I hate to say that because I'm a Canadiens fan, but they really are. I've watched a lot of Toronto recently. And they're in an interesting position because they know exactly who they're going to play in the playoffs for the most part. It's either going to be Toronto or it's going to be Tampa. Or, sorry, they can't play themselves. It's either going to be Boston or it's going to be Tampa. Depends on how Boston and Tampa move. Or if things go really, really well, and for some reason Toronto can get into the first in the Atlantic and play a wildcard team, that'll boost their chances so much at getting to the conference finals, but they're still going to have to go through Tampa or Boston at some point. So it's going to be tough for Toronto. There's going to be a great series to watch in the playoffs for sure, regardless of who they play. Vancouver. My thoughts on Vancouver. I watched Vancouver the other night. It's a team that they confuse me a lot. Vancouver really confuses me a lot because they're a team that can have unbelievable sustained pressure for like 2.5 straight minutes and then go to play PB hockey and just be like defensively and effort-wise just be like not skating. It's just like this with Vancouver. I don't get it. It's a team that you look at for that 2.5 minutes or for a good 5 or 10 minutes of really tough hockey, and you're like, wow, I really like what this team is doing right now. And then 10 minutes later, you're like, I hate what this team is doing right now. So it's a hard team to watch, but they have so many bright points in their franchise. I think it's going to be pretty exciting to watch Vancouver in the next coming years. And it's going to be even more exciting depending on who they draft this year. The Vegas Golden Knights, the biggest surprise of this year. If you ask me, do I think the Golden Knights can win a Stanley Cup? My answer is not no, but it's not yes. Based on their record, you want to say yes, but I want to say yes more so based on the structure of their team and the way it was built. And I had doubts at the beginning, as you guys know, but it proof's in the pudding. And the chemistry, the depth of this team is really tremendous. So I think their continuous effort and depth is the main reason why they will do good in the playoffs. So I wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs because I wouldn't want to play in their arena. It'd be so loud and crazy. I'm really excited to watch Vegas play in the playoffs. Winnipeg Jets, and this is our second last team. This is the team that I predicted would be the next Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup. I predicted this last year when they were in the kind of the dumpster of the standings. That sounds kind of rude to say, but it's true, unfortunately. And they were really struggling last year. This year, totally different story. They received great goaltending, which is exactly what they needed. As I said at the beginning of the year, if they get good goaltending, this team is going to be at the top of the standings. They are. They have the potential to get into first in their division, although Nashville's really playing good hockey right now. But I would not want to play Winnipeg in the playoffs because home ice advantage is going to be massive for Winnipeg. They have the best home record in the league. I wouldn't want to play there. The last team, a little short in time here, so I'm going to try and speed through this. Washington's in an interesting position. They're first in the Metro. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia are 2 and 3. I think Washington needs Pittsburgh to continue to be in second and Philadelphia to continue to be in third, because if Pittsburgh ends up playing Philadelphia, it's going to be a really hard-fought physical series. If Pittsburgh comes out of that, they're going to be beat up from all the physicality. I think Washington needs that to even have a chance against Pittsburgh in the second round, assuming Washington wins in the first round, whoever they play. Even if that does happen, I still don't think Washington can beat Pittsburgh. I want them to, obviously, because I want to see Ovi win a cup. But I don't see Washington getting by Pittsburgh, so they're in a tough spot. But I'd love to see them do it. It would be awesome. That's the last team. It's kind of all over the place in this video. I hope you guys didn't mind the kind of just laid-back conversation, low energy. I was fooling around with that for a little bit. Hope that wasn't too distracting at the beginning. I appreciate you guys if you are still watching to this point. That really means a lot. So thanks for sticking with me. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Hope you guys get the chance to watch a lot of hockey. Subscribe if you're new. Like this video if you liked it. And I'll see you in the next one. Adios.